Damian Andrews is a CEO, international speaker, philanthropist and father, drawing from skills learned in Australia's Special Air Force Regiment as a corporate recovery specialist and expert advisor to national and international companies. Damian distilled and refined often overlooked fundamental leadership, negotiation and innovation principles into Breathing Fire, the most definitive programme for unleashing your revenue and profit potential. And Damian joins us now. And you're in Australia. What's the weather like there? Because I guess it's the opposite of what it is here right now.
It is at the moment. We didn't have much of a summer leading up to the new year, but now that we've entered the new year, it's certainly warmed up a little bit. It's a little bit cooler than normal, but it's quite pleasant. We had a beautiful sunny day today, as you would expect, and is probably highly promoted in the UK of Australia.
Yeah. Now, the innovation programme that you made, Breathing Fire, what kind of things do we learn from it?
Breathing Fire is a culmination of a number of programs that I've implemented and developed over the years, working with large corporate companies and also smaller businesses, touching into simple steps that we can do. Because what we find is that a lot of times corporations will be stuck in their behaviors of how they're operating. They'll look, how are we going to improve this? How are we going to do this better? And normally they'll get a consultant in that'll go, okay, and they'll have someone external come in and interview people. They'll take that data, then go, okay, this is what you can do better. And more often than not, they'll get this very detailed report, which they paid a lot of money for. Very soon after, it goes on a shelf and never gets looked at again. It becomes a dust collector. So some of the things that I've done is worked more in the space of how do we implement, how do we make this behavior change happen? And I had that with one of my clients where they were an engineering company where when I say engineering, they did a lot of fabrication work, so that they did CAD designs of bridges and rebuilt bridges, rail bridges, road bridges, those kind of things was some of the work that they did. A lot of big heavy metal work. And the staff, it's been a family company, so it's a second generation family company. A number of the staff have been around for a long time, say 20 to 30 years. So they've been quite loyal customers, but older as well. And they had a paper timekeeping system. So the employees, when they were working, they'd fill out a time card that manually, because they're looking at you. You're a younger guy. You're going, what's paper? And so the company, that was their process. That's how they kept the time cards. And they wanted to go to a digital system, which was on people's phones. And what I did was I implemented a strategy where we talked them through. I did a training and I explained to them in their language, this is how the process works. This is what's going to happen. I gave them security that things were going to be okay. And I put in place a plan, not just to do it once and we do this training and that's it, but here's an ongoing ability to ask questions, not to be scared about it, because a lot of times people are scared, but they won't say that. So it gave them a comfort that they could ask questions in a comfortable, safe environment. And by the time I finished the first 2-hour training, and we're talking people that some of them are in their 50s, had downloaded the app onto their phone. They just logged in, created a user account, and started to use it. That was 50% of the people in that training. A number of them were saying, why don't we just go straight to this? Because I was going to keep the paper system as a fallback just to give them safety. And they're going, can't we just go straight to this system? And within 3 weeks, it was the system they were using. Wow. Without complaints, without issues, without problems.
Yeah. How do you manage to convince people of that, though? Because surely they're set in their ways. At least some people might be quite reluctant.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the challenges and where the focus is, because a lot of times it's not like we don't have the knowledge today. You're a couple of mouse clicks away from pretty much any knowledge that you want. So it's not a lack of knowledge. It's how do we implement? And that's understanding how people are motivated, what drives them. And this is where, again, I tapped into them, gave them a sense of security, feeling safe with what they were doing, that they could ask questions, that not only this was just being imposed on them, but we wanted their feedback. one of the things I specifically said is, I know things don't always go right. So I anticipated that and said, look, things aren't always going to go right. Things are going to mess up. I want you to tell us what's messing up so we can fix it. So when things did mess up, it wasn't a complaint. They were coming to me with, this didn't quite work as we anticipated. Here's how I think we could fix it. And they were actually offering suggestions how to, because they had buy-in then. And when someone's got buy-in, it's easier for them to make that change. If you're imposing the change and saying it must happen, people push back. So it was getting that buy-in of they're part of that.
And have you ever worked with any businesses where they just haven't got on board?
There's been a number of companies, and not so much. I had one company where we had, and it wasn't the employees. The employees were really, really good. And I got involved with the company. They'd gone through rapid growth. They'd gone from 35 million turnover to 110 million turnover in a very short period of time. And that requires different systems to operate. They didn't make those changes. And so they consequently lost a lot of money. And this is where I was working with the director of how to do this and how to fix it and how to get the revenue in it. And we had, for example, one of the reports that we had to do would result in, it was about $8 million in income. And he just had to finish a report. And I prepared it for him. He just had to finish a report, which really involved reading it and signing it. And he just kept putting it off because he was in this mental state of complete stress. He was like a deer in headlights and didn't know what to do. And he just kept putting it off. And because we didn't get that income, the company actually eventually went under. But if he had it for 2 months, he had that report. All he had to do was sign it and we would have got that income.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is when you think about it. It's just like, I'm sitting there going, I wanted to grab his hand and make him sign the report because that's all that it needed.
Now, your slogan, your tagline that you give yourself is sliding elephants through eyes of needles, which, as we've all know, because I'm sure we've all tried at some point in our lives, that's impossible. So why is that your slogan? Is it just because it's impossible?
That's exactly the point. It's making the impossible possible. And the impossible is just something that is in today's world is where we just don't know how to do it yet. And a lot of times too, what we do is because of the way our mind works, we have a thing called the reticular activating system in our mind, and that filters, that determines what we see, and it's set by our beliefs. And because of that, we see what we want to see. A lot of the times, what we need to do is right there in front of us, and we just need to have a different perspective. And that's part of the role, a big part of what I do is actually getting people to adjust. It's not so much that the system isn't there, it's adjusting their thinking so they can actually see, I need to do this. So that's part of what I do, yeah.
Well, where are we able to keep up to date with you and find all your services?
It's pretty simple, actually, because my name's Damian Andrews, and if you Google my name, I'm actually all over the front page. I haven't looked beyond that. Maybe I'm on the second page as well. But certainly last time we looked, or last several times we looked, Google my name, Damian Andrews, and you'll find me, but also damianandrews.com. That's DAMIAN Andrews.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You put, but again, Google me is probably the easiest way to find me. And on my website, I also have international numbers. So there is a UK number if you can ring direct toll free to contact me, or via email via the website.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you very much. And hopefully you'll get a nice warm weather. And said, I love the Muppets behind you.